Gen X, are we adults yet? Death, addiction, divorce, God, and Wheel of Fortune. Mike, Toby, and I are going back in time to pinpoint the exact moments that changed our lives forever. Hi, I'm Jason.
And I'm Greg.
We are Gen X, and welcome to our podcast. I want to give a big thank you for you guys for tuning in and hanging out with us each and every week, and especially this episode. Thank you for clicking on the title and tuning in. Shout out to our Monday crew. Thank you guys. A huge thank you for our YouTube subscribers. We are growing each and every episode. We get more and more subscribers, so thank you guys for that. With every video, like I said, with every video we post, we gain watch time. We're growing and we love it. We just want to say thank you guys for that. Be a part of the Gen X family and smash that subscribe button down there. If you are Gen X, definitely hit that subscribe button. But I know we have a large fan base outside of Gen X. Thank you guys for watching. And you know what? Hit that subscribe button. Leave us a comment. Tell us where we're good. Tell us where we're wrong. We want to know. We guys want to hear from you. Shout out to Greg on vacation this week as well. Still on his working vacation. Shout out to you, buddy. He is due back next week. So thank you to Toby and Mike this week. Thank you guys for stepping in. Greatly appreciate it.
Got it, brother. Thank you.
No worries, man.
Thanks for the tacos, by the way.
Oh, you know, that's my favorite food truck. Tacos California, out here in the middle of California, out in smack dab in rural, agricultural California. Yeah. Taco trucks are the way. Taco trucks are the thing. And we have a lot of folks who have moved out of state permanently. And I do talk to them, and I make it a point. What's the food like? What do you miss? And 100% of the time, it's, we don't have taco trucks out here.
Yeah. You can't get as good a Mexican food anywhere. They say Tex-Mex and this and that. It's not as good in any other state, any state that I've been in, as it is here in Central Valley, California.
You come be a guest on the show if for no other reason.
I'll feed you tacos.
Beg Jason to be on the show.
I'll feed you taco truck.
To be on the show. You get tacos.
And a t-shirt. These guys already have t-shirts.
That's true. I got two.
They already got the limited edition. Signed.
That's
Season 1 signed limited edition. And by the way, we do have a ton of merch for sale. Hit the links down there in the description. So thank you guys for that. Shout out to Shannon P from our Facebook page. I posted a video poking fun at the little tiny, actually it's a big fire extinguisher, but it's on the side of a big tanker truck, the big gas trucks on the freeway, the big giant shiny ones that take the fuel to the gas stations. Those guys have this fire extinguisher on the side. And I posted this video going, if you ever feel useless, just remember there's a fire extinguisher on the side of a gas truck, right? It's funny, you know what I mean? And, some people chimed in. It was pretty good. But Shannon P jumped in, and, he was a good sport about it. He jumped in and said, it's there for potential fires around the valve area. So when they're hooking up or unhooking, sometimes, static electricity is bare and a lot of fires can start there. So it's really handy for there. But he also said if the truck ever catches on fire, you just run like hell.
Yeah, it's only for incipient stage fires. But it is mandated to have that fire extinguisher before. You can probably offload and onload, because we did aqueous ammonia at the power plant I worked at. And if you didn't check every single box, like not only does that fire extinguisher have to be there, but it has to have probably a monthly card saying that it was inspected, and it has to be in the green for him to probably unload or offload and load.
I get it. I know there's a lot of regulation behind it, and I get that too. Just the size of the amount of extinguisher versus the amount of fuel. I felt the extinguisher had no fucking chance whatsoever.
Yeah. It's kind of like that lifeguard sitting on the side of the Olympic swimming pool,
If you ever feel useless, there is a lifeguard at the Olympics. Correct. Should have been a lifeguard at the breakdancing competition. I'll say it. I don't care. I'll say it. There should have been a lifeguard. Somebody should have saved that person's life.
Yes.
Pew, pew.
Yeah, in one way or another. That was...
Ray gun. Did you catch that? Pew, pew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With her little velociraptor thing that she did. That was, I don't know.
You know what? We always want to be positive and objective, but good Lord, I'm a breakdancer.
See, I said it
down to the root of everything.
Down to it, 6th grade, I'm a fucking breakdancer, and I was really good at it. And in 6th grade, I was better than that. Just saying.
Like I said it in a previous episode I was on, man. Like, you got part of adulting is knowing what you're not good at and not doing that. And just because you got a name tag that says breakdancer on it,
I'll make you a name tag. Hit the merch store.
Sorry,
I'll make them. I'll put Gen X on them. Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure she's a nice lady, but
we're not knocking her as a person, just her breakdancing show.
That was rough.
I get it. Anyway, there's probably some other story on it that I don't know about.
You got to admit, though, She's watching all the other routines, and she still got up there and did it. I mean, so you got to give her some, like you're talking about, at some point you got to let your ego go and like not care about what other people think. She nailed it way before 43, bud.
Right. And she's been in the Olympics, and I have not.
Yeah. She's internet famous forever and ever.
And I am not.
Yeah.
She might be the most famous if it wasn't for the old Haktua.
She just hit $1 million. I read somewhere. She gave away like a $500,000 over the summer to like nonprofits and food banks and shit like that or something.
And then she got like a pretty popular podcast with some other.
Yeah. She got a podcast. Yeah. All you gotta do is give that old and spit on that thing. You feel me? And she's famous.
15 seconds of fame, man. 15.
You know who I liked more than her though? Was the Wingstop chick. I work 10 hours.
I love that one.
All I want is Wingstop. And the guys did the remix to it with the drums and the guitar and shit. That
Squid.
Chick. Yeah. What did you eat today, Squid? I ate nothing. Nothing. Have you not seen?
I haven't.
Oh my goodness.
I gotta find it. Yeah.
We'll play that for you.
Yeah, gotta find it.
Mike, Toby, I moved to your town my sophomore year, the summer of '87. We've known each other for 37 years, nearly 4 decades have passed. Yep. And there's no way on God's green earth did we make it this far without some ups and downs. We've been through some shit, my friends. Let's hang out tonight. Let's talk. Let's talk about some of those times. Let's eat, let's drink, and let's play some Wheel of Fortune.
Got it, man.
What do you say, guys? All right.
Yes.
Thank you guys for joining us. Hey, you know what? Today's episode, we're going to hang back. We're going to tell you a few stories. We're going to play Wheel of Fortune. Click us, put this on widescreen, put us on, no screen, and leave the volume up, whatever you're doing. Hang out with us. Here we are. Death, addiction, divorce, God, and Wheel of Fortune. Yes, there are a few distinct moments in each of our lives that did, in fact, change the course of our lives. So, where does Wheel of Fortune come in? I'm just going to play a fun game of Wheel of Fortune and have something to do.
It is about, it's just past 7:30. That Wheel of Fortune's like actually on.
It's probably on right now. So we're just going to play a few rounds of Wheel of Fortune, ramble on about the good old days. Turn your phones on the little side and get comfy, folks. Wheel of Fortune. The first one is, what are you doing? It is a 3-word puzzle.
Looks like 650.
650.
So that free play.
And it's almost close to that free play. All right. 650, sir.
S.
Boom. S. Spin again, my friend. Toby.
Yes, sir.
When it comes to death, addiction, divorce, God, and Wheel of Fortune,
yeah.
What do you got for us, my friend?
Yeah, interesting. When I looked at what were those defining moments in my life, definitely divorce was a big thing. I have not been divorced, but my parents divorced, my wife's parents divorced at different phases of our lives. Mine when I was about 1.5 years old, and that surely was a very defining moment for me, even though at the time I was only 1.5 years old. Mom and dad split up. I asked my mom at one point, what was the moment when you just were like, okay, I've had it, I'm done, I'm out. I knew my dad was problematic. He struggled with chronic depression. He was addicted to drugs. He was selling drugs. He was sleeping around. He was stealing stuff. He was living under a complete alias. Everything about him was fake.
Right, I remember that.
Everything was fake. So I asked her, what was that moment? She said, I was in the back seat of their car in a car carrier, baby seat, whatever. Dad got engaged into a road rage incident on the freeway with some guy, and he just all over the road and cussing and flipping him off and stuff. And at one point, my dad reached over the back seat and was fishing around on the floor, and he came up with a brick in his hand. And that was the moment my mom knew he was getting ready to throw that brick at that dude in the other car on the freeway, going freeway speed with us in the car. So mom knew, okay, that's the moment, I'm out. So she left. So to put that into perspective then.
Wow.
I was born in 72, so that would have been 1975.
Yeah.
74, 75, 74-ish. Anyway, she had a high school education. Her whole family's in Montana, and she's got me. And there was resources that were available back then. So mom, it now entered into a phase of life where she's got to figure stuff out in a far deeper level than I ever had to do with a little kid in tow. Everything she does has a heavy consequence. Right. She can't just go crash on a friend's couch. She can't just go sleep on a park bench somewhere. She's got to get stuff done and find a way to feed her little baby and keep him safe. So for sure, that then transitioned into me, that, or I should say it shaped me as I aged and was able to understand my world a little bit more. It taught me that I didn't need a dad.
Right.
So then when my mom actually got remarried when I was 8, I didn't have any need for that dude. He wasn't really ready to be a father, especially not to an 8-year-old with an attitude.
Right.
But I didn't need him. And so we never really connected. And then that whole thought process of I don't need anyone to do anything for me. And we talked about this before in one of the episodes I was on too.
Yeah.
Get stuff done on my own. Right.
Right.
So that was the way it always had to be. There was no dad around to do things for me. Mom was working 2 jobs, taking night classes, leaving me at this friend's house, that friend's house. And I can, since we're spilling guts here, I can tell you for sure some of the care situations that she put me into were not great, but she had no choice. And at least in one instance, it led to me getting molested. So, and that's something I remember too. So did it shape me? Absolutely, it shaped me. It was pivotal. It changed the course of my life. What would have happened if she stayed with him? Probably not good stuff.
Right.
But it definitely shaped my thoughts of the world, my understanding of how things happen, and what needs to happen in order for me to survive. Truly shaped me. So, and it also impacted me as I became a husband and a father too. I have 3 sons. How do you father boys? How do you be a dad to boys when nobody showed you how to do it?
I can't tell you how loud and clear I hear you.
So that's for sure. That's kind of my first big pivotal moment that I can point to.
I get it, dude.
Having no dad, man.
And then when somebody could step into the role, one, it sounded like he wasn't ready, prepared, or willing.
Right.
Right. And then 2, you weren't ready, willing, or receiving.
Right.
Either.
Yeah, he came from a pretty dysfunctional home. He had a lot of learning disabilities himself, and he was a boomer. Actually, kind of was born at the beginning of World War II, but he had a lot of dyslexia and some other things going on, so he didn't do well in school. And back then, if you didn't do well, you were just called stupid and put in the back of the class. The teacher would then let your parents know you weren't paying attention, you weren't trying hard. You'd go home and dad would whoop that butt, and that's what happened to him. He just got beat. And so
plus when we were kids too, like, you didn't hear like autism and stuff like that. No. You were beat until you were stupid, until you straightened out.
Yeah. So what he did is he dropped out of school and he went and joined the Navy. And so he didn't really know how to be a dad either. He didn't really have a dad show him how to do things. He didn't know how to express love or affection or give attention. He just knew.
And then you had the military in there. And so
there's a lot of hazing and, be a man.
Sure.
Suck it up. And
well, yeah. Yep. I get that.
Yeah.
I do.
So he wasn't ready to be a dad. I wasn't ready to have a dad. Not a good combo.
Right.
Now put him in the same house and you have to listen to what he says. So yeah, it was tough. Not as tough as some. Not.
I get it. I get it.
There was no, there was no raging alcoholic or anything like that. But it wasn't a great environment.
So how about the Wheel of Fortune?
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
Sure.
I'm just kidding. No, hey Toby. We send notes back and forth and stuff. But hey, thanks for putting being honest and putting shit out there, dude.
For sure, man. Right. I mean, that's how we get better.
I hear you. I get it. Right? I get it. All right. If you haven't done so, hit that subscribe button. All right, Mike, I think we left off. It is your turn. We have an S. It is what are you doing? What are you doing as a category?
I got a 700.
You got a 700? You want to buy a vowel? You want to pick a letter?
I would like to pick an N.
N?
Oh.
It's your turn, sir.
I would like to buy a vowel.
Yes.
E.
1 E, sir.
So do I keep going until I hit bankruptcy?
You spin until you don't get one or you run out of money. Yeah. I'd like to spin again, please. Solve the puzzle. Spin or solve.
700, I would like an F.
F.
You gotta be kidding me.
That's what we're working with, folks. I'll put it up on the screen.
Again. I'm not good at this game. It's 550. How about an R?
There is no R.
Uh-oh.
All right, Toby. Take a look at that puzzle for a minute. Give us a spin or two. You can buy a vowel, you can solve, or you can spin, sir. Think on that for a second. I want to jump in. Growing up, I was pretty confident about a lot of things. I've made a lot of jokes, made fun of a lot of people. I was pretty, I don't want to say confident. I was kind of like,
cocky.
Yeah, it was a little bit more of that. Long hair, especially when I was older, 18, 19, 20 years old. you know,
16,
17, 18, 19, 20, 21.
How old you were 15 when I met you?
Yeah.
So I'd put 15 in there.
15. Right. And I really had this thing that if it was funny, it was okay. Or if it was cool, it was okay. And everybody shared my value on that. And everybody thought the way I did. So if I did something that was kind of outrageous or kind of exaggeration for effect, which is part of my sense of humor, then everybody thought it was that. And then it was okay. Then it didn't hurt anybody's feelings or it wasn't obnoxious.
There's at least a few people laughing every time.
So one of the times, and you know, I never really caught what was happening unless somebody was right here in my face telling me something, right? So this one time, you know, my dad lived up in Sacramento. He was working for Channel 3 up there, KCRA up there. He was ENG department, the electronic news gathering. He was the guy who put together the little video stories for the sportscaster when he worked at Channel 3, right? So he was up there doing that. I went up there to visit, and it was summertime or whatever, and I had long hair, and I looked just like this, and I had no shirt on. I had shorts on, and I'm sure I had shoes or flip-flops. I might have even been barefoot because I went everywhere barefoot, no shirt, and had a cigarette hanging out my mouth.
It was a summer where I just refused to wear shoes.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't even scrub the black off.
So we could smoke indoors back then, right? You know what I mean? We could still smoke inside. So walking around with a cigarette and no shirt wasn't really too outrageous. It wasn't like, oh my God, that guy's got no shirt on, especially in the 80s. You know what I mean? And then we spilled into the 90s. There was a lot of leftover. But the day I walked into Kelly Broadcasting at 3 Television Circle in Sacramento, California, I walked into the lobby and said, hey, is Ron and Dia working? So I'm name dropping because I want to be cool. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, can you tell them Jason's here? And is there a bathroom? Yeah, they're like, the bathroom's over there. And I walk in just wearing shorts, no shirt, no shoes, long ass hair, right? Being loud, I'm sure, because I'm cool, nice. Right? And I walk by these suit guys. I'm like, hey, guys, what's up? Like, they're going to go, oh, my God, this guy's so cool. Look at him, blah, blah, blah. And I walk into the bathroom, which is just around the corner, and I could hear those guys talking as they walked by me. I don't know who they were, but I could hear them talking, and then I could hear them say, why was he dressed like that? What is he doing? This is a place of business.
Did it bother you?
It did. It did. It hurt my feelings, but not like I was attacked. It was more like, he's fucking right. And then I was embarrassed, but I didn't get angry at them for it. I was like, fuck, I don't want to come out of this bathroom. And then I was like, fuck, I have to go back out to the car, find a shirt. If I even brought one, right? Find my shoes and no socks. I'm wearing shorts
with hemmed sleeves. I'm sure they were.
I mean, and then, you know, I told my dad, I'm like, I kind of wanted to like tell him in a way to like, in case he heard it. I almost wanted to tell him in a way that like he would be mad at them for talking shit to me. You know what I mean? But I was like, and either way, you know, I'm just like, yeah, I'm sorry, man. And he's like, yeah, it's fine. Those guys are blah, blah, blah. He kind of let me off the hook about it. But so why is that a defining moment? Because that was like one of the first times ever I realized that like, you know, being cool isn't necessary 24/7, and being cool isn't really something that's like a value. And it's how cool is it to be fucking immature for the moment and the time and place. I've been told time and place, Jason. There's a time and place for everything since like I was old enough to fucking move. Right? So it was defining because someone called me on my shit in a way that I actually heard it, and I heard it to the core, and I actually made a huge change on that. I kind of grew up a little bit that day. Embarrassed to, you know, I needed to be a little bit more mature and act my age. So, you know, t-shirts and shoes went on, right? Still had the long hair, and the shirts were still cut up, and they were still rock shirts or whatever the fuck they were. You know, I left the house fully dressed that day. I didn't walk around barefoot all the time anymore. You know what I mean? It was
bankruptcy, Ben.
All right, here we go.
Okay. All right. So do I still have money?
Yeah, you still got money. You can buy a valve, you can spin or solve the puzzle.
I need you to front it to me. I mean, this went bankrupt.
All right. I would like to buy a Val, Pat, and or Vanna.
Yes.
Can I buy an eye, please?
I'm stumped.
Tell us the story, Toby.
Yeah. So I was living in Seattle in the early to mid 90s, or mid to late 90s, pardon me. Lived up there for a while, and I actually went up there to work with a youth mission organization. We did a lot of travel and stuff, but living up there for a while, things were going good. I loved living up there, but then things kind of started falling apart. The job I had was ending. My roommates were finding a new place to live, so I was going to have to find a new place to live. Things were, the church I was a part of up there had completely like imploded in a really ugly way. The group I moved up there to be a part of, the youth mission program, didn't have a place for me that summer. So everything was kind of collapsing, and I was starting to panic, and I didn't know what to do. So I got in my car and I drove from Seattle down back home. And just a side note here, at that time I was driving a Geo Metro. It has 7-gallon tank.
Was it white?
It was blue.
It was blue, the blue one. You got the blue one.
And it was the RS, so it had the 4-cylinder, so it had like the big engine.
Had the zhuzh.
Yeah. So and 7-gallon tank, and the gas station around the corner at that time had gas for 97 cents a gallon. So I filled up for under $7.
Nice. Back in the 1900s.
Yeah. And then I had to fill up, I think, 3 times on the way home. So $21 got me from Seattle back home. Anyway, so I got back here and was crashing out on Mom's couch for a week. And I was just going to kind of like distance myself, catch my breath, figure things out, maybe do some praying and just like listen. And then spend time with friends here.
Right.
So a friend of mine was in a play at Stan State. And you've probably heard this story before, Jason. But anyway, he was in a play at Stan State. It was Romeo and Juliet.
Nice.
So I went to go see my buddy Josh. R.I.P. Josh, miss you, buddy. He was in the play. Went to go see him. And in the play, out comes Juliet. And there's this kind of like cute little redhead running around on the stage as Juliet. And I was kind of like vibing on Juliet on the stage. And then I saw her kiss her castmate, and I was like, dang, I haven't seen anybody kiss like that on stage before. It was kind of interesting. So after the show, Josh and myself, another friend, we went
Wait, what kind of kiss was it? Like full tongue? Just like,
I couldn't see tongue from my perspective. I don't think there was tongue involved, but it was
passionate.
It was a good kiss. It wasn't like a peck. It was like a
had some va-va-va-boom.
Yeah, it was like a I'm into you kiss, right? So afterwards, Josh and I and another friend go to a 24-hour restaurant we used to have around here called Lions. And
Lions.
hung out at Lions, and who should walk in but that redhead and a couple of her friends come walking in. And so we met, and hi, how are you? Hi. And she went off to her table, and that was kind of it. And then a few months later, I was at a bookstore, turn around, and there's that redhead again. I couldn't remember her name, introduced myself. Hey, I'm Toby, what's your name? Oh, I'm Lori. Oh, okay, hi, Lori. We talked for a bit, went our separate ways. And then unbeknownst to us, I started asking my friend Josh about her. She started asking my friend Josh about me. And then Josh started having little parties and events to make sure Lori and I were in the same room at the same time. At the end of that week that I came home, I went back to Seattle and realized it was kind of time to wrap stuff up there. So I wrapped things up, finished things up, left my job, and then moved back down here without any kind of an idea on what I was going to do with myself. But after that, Lori and I met again at the bookstore that time, and then we started kind of dating. And long story short, we're married 23 years now. So
right on.
If I hadn't come home during that week and gone to that play, who knows if we would have ever met.
Right.
Even. So
there's 3 human beings that are thankful that you came down.
For sure. Well, yeah. And so that week was a pivotal moment. That week when I felt like my world was falling apart and I didn't know what the heck to do, I came back here to take a breath, and in that week of taking a breath, I met that little redhead, and
that's awesome.
So pretty crazy to think about that series of circumstances, but definitely a pivotal moment for me.
Yeah, she was. Well, you guys were put in front of each other a few times.
Yeah, a few times. Yeah.
Here.
Capital H.
Last one.
Capital E. Yeah.
Bro, right. I sent you 3 lifeboats in a helicopter, man. What do you want?
Toby's kind of special, isn't he? Yeah. So pivotal moment for sure, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
Things were falling apart there, but I believe wholeheartedly God had something else planned here.
That's not coincidence,
that was better than anything I could have planned.
Yeah.
Funny how that works.
Like, we haven't brought up death yet, but like one of the stories, like when you were talking about the outline, Mom was living in the home, like just before me and Barb were going to get married, like a month and a half before my mom fell very ill.
Yeah.
And we were actually going to call off the wedding because like she was in ICU for, it was like 30 days. And the week before, my wife Barb was talking about canceling the wedding, at least postponing it. I said, my mom would never want that. We need to go through with it. I was all, don't worry, I'll be able to focus. She pulls out of ICU 5 days before. She can't come to the wedding. She's still in the hospital. But we got married, but when she came out of that 30-day stint, she had either accelerated dementia or Alzheimer's or something. I always ask, like, which one is it? And they're like, and every answer I got from the hospitals and the doctors, like, who cares? It's pretty much no difference. It makes no difference. Like, well, I'd like to know what the name is. But moving on from that, so that was in 2012. 2017, like her dementia was real bad. She couldn't remember something from 2 minutes before.
Right.
She always remembered who I was, but didn't remember everybody that would come to visit, who they were. Like, she was losing that memory, and it was really bad. And then she was like, her health was declining and getting worse, and she's like in the hospital like for like a week or 2 weeks every month. And I'm working a job that I don't think I was on shift work back then, but like I would go and visit her, you know, from Ripon to Lodi to Antioch and then back, and try to visit her like as much as I can, 2-3 times a week. But, you know, all she would do is go through pictures of my phone, and every time she'd look at a picture, I'd have to tell her the story about that picture again and again, which I loved doing, and it made her like so happy. And like I brought my Max, my dog, I brought him in there one time, and my wife loves dogs too, but I was talking about my mom. My mom loves dogs, and I had like my little puppy, so it's like her baby with his little dog baby, and like she only met him for like a half hour. Like I snuck him into the home, you know. I was like, hey, here's my dog, and like she was just so happy, and like every time I would see her, she'd be like, let me see some pictures of Max. But her memory was like it was shot. Like it was really bad. Well, so her health is declining. They're kind of talking to me about like, you know, it's, you know, we need to start thinking about like where we move from this, because we can't just go in and out of the hospitals. Like, oh, why not? She's insured. But they're like, you know, and we had like the big adult discussions about, you know, like hospice and, you know, when's enough.
End of life care.
So I'm at work one day. It's like, I don't know, 10 o'clock. And I just get this phone call from her home. I was like really close with everybody. That, you know, they see me 3 times a week. I'm talking, I'm paying the bills. I'm like taking care of everything, and like I'm the point of contact. So I know a lot of these people really well. Yeah. And I forget, I can't remember a single one of their names now. But life has just been so busy since. But one of the people from the hospital called me and said, hey, Mike, we really recommend hospice. Your mom's vital signs, everything is kind of pointing us in that direction. We were wondering if you could come in and we could talk about it. I'm on my way right now. And I tell my work, I'm like getting all choked up, and I'm like not knowing what to expect. And I mean, my mom's my best friend. I mean, that woman, nobody has ever loved me unconditionally besides the Lord, Jesus. No one, like even close to everything that I've done, has just continually loved me, or like without hesitation. Like never, I mean, she's just, you know.
I know your mom.
But I get to her home, and I was like, hey, we need to talk about it. And they're like, you're going to have to give us a bit. We got somebody coming to talk to you. We don't know when they're going to get here. I was like, okay. So I walk in my mom's room. I'm like, hey, Mom. She's all, Michael, hi. And I was like, hi. And I just knew something was different. And I was like, what's going on? She's all, well, God told me last night this is my last day on earth.
Oh, wow.
I was like, okay. Sorry, I might get a little choked up. I didn't think I would. It's been a while. But me and my mom started talking, and she was completely cognizant, 100%. Like she had never...
Coherent, present.
There was no signs of dementia. There was no sign of age. I mean, we just talked. And like, she was like remembering things like about my life, like about like Barb and my stepson Kyle, asking about them. And it's like, I didn't even, you know, like how that was like getting into her brain when I couldn't talk to her about like what happened 10 minutes ago the whole time, but completely coherent. It was amazing. And I was like, I need to FaceTime my brother.
Yeah.
My brother was driving truck at the time, and then he FaceTimed my mom. My brother got this tattoo of this. Remember that caricature picture of my mom? Like, I forget where she got it, but it hung in the bathroom. Mm-hmm. Her with like blonde hair, like when she's in her 20s. My brother got that tattooed right here. It was like only like a year ago when she was like when she was having her, spells with the dementia or Alzheimer's or whatever. She remembered that. She's like, how did you take care of it? Does it still look good? Did you mess it up? And just like was talking about like all the stuff, like thank goodness for FaceTime, like sometimes I hate technology, but that day, yeah, it was a lifesaver for my brother. And then, but then like they got off the phone and then I was talking to my mom for like 5 more minutes, it just felt like so good and just so relieving, and then the lady from hospice shows up and she's like, hey, can I talk to you? And like, I didn't realize the gift, I was kind of like living in the moment, kind of like forgot about the last, 12 to 17, so the last 5 years, kind of forgot about all that. And I was like in the moment. I was all, yeah. I was like, hey, Mom, I'll be right back. And she's all okay. And then, so I step in the hallway. I'm talking to the lady about hospice, and then my nephew Justin, his now wife Miranda, and my niece Jennifer are like, hey, Uncle Mike, how's it going? I was like, hey, Mom's right in there. Man, you're going to be surprised. It's going to be great. And they walk in there, and I'm like just on the other side of the door. And I like hear like right away, my mom is completely back to the dementia. Completely. Like she didn't say a single sentence. Like I think she was like, oh, hi. I think she recognized my nephew, Justin. I mean, cause much but then like she recognized Jennifer, but like she didn't remember like Miranda, and was just like kind of like, and is back to couldn't remember 2 minutes ago. And for me, like the defining moment for me is, well, it made me realize that God is real, and he did me a solid. He didn't do that for my mom. God did that for me and my brother.
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah, I remember you telling me that story the first time. I remember.
It's a gift, man, for real.
That moment of clarity.
Yeah. And it was, well, I'd been reading my Bible and like reading a devotional every day, and I was like praying on my own. Like whenever I'd visit my mom, I'd pray. Like to where my mom would be like, man, you got really good at that. So, well, when you do it every day, you get better.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
And it was, but that's when like I became like I just firmly, truly 100% believe in the Lord and how he could do a miracle like that for me. And that's before my son,
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a whole nother miracle in my mind, but yeah. It's a story I got.
Yeah, that's goosebump stuff, dude. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I'm telling you, this is clear as day. She knew everything that happened in my life.
It's that moment of, yes.
She knew about my job. She knew about like my promotion in my job, like everything. It was.
She was 100% here.
Yeah.
She was 20 years ago.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. And your brother got to see some of that too.
Thank you, FaceTime.
Right?
Like my brother to like, just whenever we talk about, because me and my brother are like kind of like reconnecting and, because we're all that we got left for the most part, at least that's here in California. And, that's like, that conversation is like one of our, we always have that together.
If you guys are still watching, for those of you who are still watching, I know we lose a few in the beginning. That's pretty typical. However, I want you guys to leave a few comments and help me thank these guys for coming on the show. Remember, we're not experts. We're regular fucking dudes.
Yeah.
Just this wasn't scripted. I mean, there's an outline just kind of, hey, let's go this direction. Here's our topic. But, this is kind of real. So leave us a comment. Help me thank these guys for coming on the show and being real and being raw with us. So thank you guys. I appreciate
you
that.
got it, brother. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for having me.
But one of the other defining moments, I just posted this on my own personal Facebook the other day. I came across a picture. It was the last picture taken of my dad, right before he died. My dad came down for my birthday, and my birthday's at the very end of February. He died March 10th. So this took place within those 10 days, right? He comes down, he visits. My oldest son at the time is only like 18 months old, 17, 18 months old, something like that, right? He's right in there, 15 months old. Anyways, my dad comes down, he's visiting. My dad lives in Sacramento this whole time. He's visiting and he's playing with the baby, he's playing with Chris and having a good time, and, he's changing diapers, doing all the grandpa stuff, right? The picture's up, but the whole weekend, the mom at the time, Michelle, she was like, you seemed distant. You seemed checked out. You seemed preoccupied. Is everything okay? Are you okay? Your dad was here. Yeah. I've always visited my dad at his house. And this was rare that he came down to our house and like stayed the night. And it was like, he was visiting me, you know what I mean? And Michelle was like, you seem really distant, kind of preoccupied. Are you okay? I'm like, holy shit, I didn't really think about
like
that.
The first time he came and stayed with you overnight?
Yeah.
Like you were
I was the adult.
You're living under my roof.
Oh, yeah, no, you're going to bed by 10 o'clock. Yeah. Shit, right. No, you're taking a shower.
You go do the dishes.
I don't think you've eaten all your vegetables.
You soap.
Yeah, it was my turn to do that shit, right? She tells me I'm she sees, she says I'm acting this kind of way. I'm like, oh, fuck, I feel really bad. You know what I mean? So I'm working graveyard at the time. I'm working at Office Depot out there in Hayward. I'm commuting. So in the middle of the night, my dad, kind of a party dude a little bit, and so calling him in the middle of the night wasn't like a big deal. Sometimes he worked graveyard, but, a lot of times he was up till 11 or 12, watching Letterman or, whatever. Just, it was okay to be late. So I called in the middle of the night and I'm like, hey, Michelle said I seemed distant or preoccupied this weekend. Hey, I'm really sorry for that. I really am. And he's like, no, he called me Jaybird. No, Jaybird, it's fine. No, it's totally fine. Don't worry about it. No, I love you. I love you. I'm like, yeah, I love you too. And he was like, well, you'll call me in the morning or call me tomorrow. I'm like, yeah, no problem. But hey, yeah, thanks for coming down. Anyways, blah, blah, blah. The last thing I said was, I love you. He's like, I love you too. And it was all good. He's like, no, don't worry about it, Jaybird. Don't worry about it. I'm like, I love you. I love you too. Hung up, right? And, a few days passed or whatever, and I get a phone call at work again. I want to say you took me. You at least took me home, or you took me to Sacramento. I could have swore it was you. Maybe you took me home, and then me and Michelle went to Sacramento to the hospital. Anyways, I get a phone call. Dad's in the hospital. He was playing with his band in the bar. He was drumming, and they're playing Percy Sledge, When a Man Loves a Woman. At the end of the song, for the big hoorah, the big da-da-da-da-da, the big finish, whatever. Dad went up for the big finish, and the guitar player at his funeral explained it like we were playing the song. And everything was going good. Everything was real tight. And at the end of the song, I looked over at Ron. That was my dad's name. We looked over at Ron, and he had like this confused look on his face. He was like this confused look. And he wasn't hitting the cymbals, and he collapsed into the cymbals, right? We all stopped. We grabbed him. We called 911. We put him in the ambulance, and, that's when I got the call. And it turns out they had an aneurysm. And the doctor said he was dead before he hit the ground. He might have felt a headache come on. And if you correlate that with that confused look on his face, and then the falling into your drum set, right? You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
But the point of all this was, and so anyways, the good news is he died playing his drums. All my dad's friends and anybody who knows me or knew my dad, he's a drummer, and the band and the music was his life. So what a fitting way to kind of go out, right? If you're going out, you're going out. Playing your drums isn't a bad way to go out. So he had the aneurysm. It burst, and it was a wrap. There was nothing medically could be done, right? Yeah. It was the machines keeping him alive by the time I got there. Family was there. We made a decision. They pulled the plug. Here we are, right? But the reason that was defining, it wasn't just because he passed away. It was because I listened to that slightly nagging voice inside my head that I was checked out. My dad came to see me, and I didn't feel bad. Just like, aw, I don't want my dad to feel that way. Oh, fuck that. I want my dad. I love my dad. I don't want him to feel that way. I'm going to call him. I'm just going to call him and tell him, you know what I mean? Be a little goofy about it. Hey, Dad, I love you. And just, get another chance to say, I love you, right? Whatever, blah, blah, blah. No, Jaybird, it's fine. I didn't think that at all. That was the last time I talked to him.
Yeah.
And had I not listened to that voice, had I just finished picking my order, you know what I mean? It was an order selector at Office Depot, Had I just finished E-Zone, shout out store 885, right?
I wonder if there's still red vines and runts and stuff sticking in them rafters.
You know how much weed was sent out in those boxes?
on purpose.
I'm just telling you, we knew the people who were boxing stuff. We knew the verifiers, and we knew all this other stuff. And there was a lot of times that personal items went out in those boxes to customers. We heard about it in some staff meetings, and I know for a fact because I know that stuff went out and got sent to those people. So anybody in the Bay Area back in the early 90s who ordered stuff, you probably got a lot of weed in your orders. You got toner, you got pens, and you got a blunt.
But you notice how like they were thriving until like a few years after we left, and then it went on decline.
Yeah. So we were the good crew. I mean, I don't miss that job. I don't miss that. Was the beginning of my horrible drug years at that job. It's not the job's fault. It's my fault. But it's hard to celebrate that job and not think about the heavy meth use.
I was just thinking about, and the one thing I think about every time when I think about Depot and you is just they hadn't even had those pickers for a month.
Those things
Pickers
are so
like this,
fun.
It's this electric
upright
lift. It has a pallet on the back, and you and the whole machine go up to 5 levels. Is that 25? Or
it was up there to like Costco, as high as Costco.
And on the back, we called it the wall. Is actually W aisle. We called it the wall, but it's a straightaway along the back of the entire store of C-Zone. I'm coming down one way, Jason's coming down the other, and we're like looking at each other because like it had a throttle and it had a steering wheel like this. And he's like looking at me, I'm like looking at him, and we're both going full speed. And
which is like 2.3 miles an hour.
It's 5.
It's like 5 miles.
It's 5, but those things probably weigh 10,000 pounds.
Yes, these are Crown electric uprights.
Electric uprights.
Pickers, they're pickers. Yeah.
Vented lead acid batteries full.
Yeah, we had to have the harness on and shit. And the clicker.
You can't even use those harnesses anymore because they break people's backs.
I believe it.
They had the big industrial buckle, so you could definitely break your back.
Yes.
But we're looking at each other in the eyes, and we're like going, and I'm like, oh, you better back down because it ain't me this time, bro. And I'm not backing down. I'm not backing down. Boom! And it was loud, like to where people were like, whoa! And the defining moment for me at that point was, that's when I realized that I really need a job, and I can't afford to lose one right now because I think I was living in my apartment with my first wife at that point.
We were making around $9 an hour then.
But you could survive off of $9. My rent literally was $400 a month for a 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartment in a pretty decent complex.
Yeah.
Right behind the Manteca Theater, I forget what they're called.
On North Main there. So the last thing you said to your dad was, I love you.
Yeah.
Last thing you said to your mom was probably,
I love you. I'll be right back.
Yeah. And I had a similar situation with my mom too. The last thing I said to her was, I love you. It was a Thanksgiving night. She went home. That was it. That's a gift, man.
Shared a lot about the last couple of years with your mom on social media. It was rough. You shared a lot of rough posts. I mean, you weren't detailed. You weren't putting your business out there. You know what I mean? People in the know. But it was, I was just reading about it, Toby. You know what I mean? And I know not everything was shared, but the last couple of years were very rough.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I talked about it on the show before, but like and that's one of my pivotal moments too, was watching my mom. So my mom was a martyr with her life. She gave of herself to everybody, and she wouldn't take care of herself. She wouldn't stop and take care of herself. And people nagged her sisters nagged her. She wouldn't go do it. And when she started feeling a little off, she wouldn't go to the doctor, no matter how much they nagged her about it. And then when she finally, and I found out the reason she wouldn't is she was afraid she was going to get bad news. So when she finally did go, it was bad news. And it was a lot worse than it would have been had she gone prior. She had cancer, long, ugly, nasty story short, 15 years of suffering before she died. And the last couple of years were just hell. There was no quality. There was nothing. She had a colostomy bag and a urostomy bag and dialysis 3 days a week, and she couldn't walk, and she couldn't do any of the stuff that she liked. She couldn't see nature. She couldn't cook. She couldn't eat stuff she liked. She couldn't travel. It was just terrible. So when she died, what I realized was a couple of things. One, I do not want that for me. Like, no way. Hell no. I do not want that for me. Like, I want my family to know what my parameters are. So advance directive, everybody, seriously, if you have senior parents, grandparents, if you're in charge of somebody, a loved one, get an advance directive filed with the hospital so that when the time comes and you are in crisis mode and you can't think straight, you don't have to make decisions. The advance directive is on file to make those decisions for you. Get it done. I promise you, you will not regret it. But that was in
I've
place
never heard of that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And like for me in like my situation, like having to put, it hasn't affected me like some of the decisions I've had to make, like some of the, like there's I forget the terms and we don't need to go into that now, but that would have been nice to have that.
Yeah.
Do not resuscitate a DNR.
Yeah, that's a part of it. That's a part of it.
That's like a decision that I had to make. That was just like,
yeah. And you don't want to have to make that in that moment, man.
Yeah.
You want it figured out ahead of time so you can just be present, because you're going to be racked with grief. You're going to be confused. You're going to be overwhelmed. You still got your wife and your kids to take care of and stuff. And you don't want to think of that. You shouldn't have to. So that's what the advance directive does. It spells out what life-saving measures you want them to go to. If I code, here's how far I want you to go. It also says, here's what kind of burial I want. I want Muslim, I want Christian, I want cremation, I want whatever. And it also says, these are the people that you can release information to if they call the hospital. These are the people that can come into the room if they come to the hospital. And it's, man, it was so helpful for her. So I want that for me, get that for you, for your loved ones. So that was one thing, is I don't want that for me, that kind of death, like 15 years of hell. It was just, there's no quality. When it's your time, it's your time. And the other thing that I learned that was a big deal was there's a huge difference between living and existing.
Yes.
And my mom was just existing.
Yeah.
There was no life there. And so when you get to a point where there's just no life and it's just existence, man, it's time to reassess stuff. So that was a big eye opener for me. So her long, ugly death was definitely a pivotal moment for me, and watching her suffer unnecessarily. A, because she didn't take care of herself, but B, because she fought and fought and fought really for no reason at the end. But I can say truly the last thing I said to my mom was, I love you. She got in the car and went home, and she passed away at home. That's what she wanted.
I've had that conversation with my mom. My mom has had that conversation with me. She does not want to be intubated, and she always, she has her DNR paperwork on file, or however that works. Those are
two different things, right?
Yes.
So get the DNR, but get that advance directive. Seriously.
So we
will not regret it.
Have that in place. And, I'm talking to her. I'm like asking very specific. So what does that mean exactly? What if it's like this? She goes, these are my wishes and I want you to respect them. And I'm like,
yeah.
I'm like, I haven't heard my mom have to put her foot down with me in a long time. We talk shit back and forth, we have a good relationship, you know what I mean? She can talk however, but that was direct. That was for me to hear. I haven't heard that in a long time. These are my wishes and I want you to respect them. Mm-hmm. Like I'm super serious. Like, no fucking around on this one. Right. Yeah. And so after that conversation, I'm like, okay, hey, I love you. Okay, well, yeah, sure. Okay, whatever. It wasn't dismissive, but the conversation ended, and the first thing I did was pick up the phone and call my next little brother. I'm like, hey, just got off the phone with Mom. Have you heard this conversation? Yeah, we've had that conversation with her too. I'm like, so it means this, and this. And he's like, yeah. I said, okay. Do the other brothers know? Because yeah, we've all talked about it. I said, okay, so if ever when we're on the same page, right? And he's like, yeah, we're on the same. Oh, okay, just making sure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not that it's ever going to fall on me, but it's going to fall on Dad or it's going to fall on Aaron. It'll be a group effort, but at least we all know what her wishes are, at least. You know what I mean? And
for sure.
However that's navigated, if or wherever that time comes. But yeah.
You got 4 brothers and Wayne, and it's good to all be on the same page for sure.
It is. There's no blame. And if we're all in agreement, then I think it's easier to some degree. And I think we all are in agreement to some degree. You know what I mean? It's still not going to be easy. No one's going to be happy about if or when. You know what I mean? But
you don't realize how much you miss your mom. You miss your mom, man.
I hear you, man.
I've still got 2 voicemails on my phone from my mom.
I have 3 or 4 myself. Yeah. And like whenever I'm down, I pull that out and it makes me feel pretty good.
Yeah, for sure, man. That's a treasure. The one other thing, not to harp on the advance directive.
Sure.
Revisit it. Because like with my mom, we had one filed, and her journey was so long that I was like, it was like 5 years later, I was like, man, I probably should look at that thing again. I looked at it again, and a lot of the stuff in it was not accurate anymore. Like some of the things she wanted some of the people she had listed as contacts had moved away or whatever, passed away. So revisit it too. If it's a document you file and your dad's still here for a long time, revisit that document, get it updated, because your number might be different. Your email might be different. Keep it up to date, because you never know when that moment hits, and you do not want to have to panic and try and figure stuff out in that moment. You want that on file. Big deal.
Yeah. And in that moment, just how you got to deal with yourself. It'd be nice to not have to like throw in decisions that make you feel, it'd be nice to just focus on like this, that stuff matters too. But without that having to be the thought process or getting pulled aside or whatever. I mean, that's like, as for me, I was, actually my brother was on the road quite a bit. For me, it was like, I had my wife that I could talk to. Like, this is a family thing since birth, longer than I knew. So I just kind of like harbored it to myself, like certain decisions and certain whatever. And it was tough. It was really tough. It'd been nice to have that. Well, like a lot of the stuff I had to like make my own decision, but it would have been nice to make those decisions where I'm not like right up in the moment.
Yeah. I get it. Yeah, I do.
So I got married right at 21. And I'm partying. I'm working at Home Depot, not Home Depot,
Office Depot,
with my buddies that I like to party with.
We partied hard in those years, bro.
We partied hard in those years.
Too hard?
I mean, like how we made it out of
how hard? Too hard.
But how
sleep till fired.
But I mean, I can't believe we made it out of Willie's house. Much less continued
I lost 20
on
pounds that summer.
Yeah, it was hot.
It was hot.
I was sweating the whole summer.
I was sweating 24/7.
You had to worry about your bag in your pocket. You had to like layer it in the center of your wallet so it wouldn't get like too hot on the outside. But
I remember all that shit.
But so I'm kind of newly married. I don't know if it was like after 1 year or whatever, but like Tammy partied with me. And like we did the drugs together and hung out all night, and I'd still go out with my buddies and stay out a little bit longer than I should and whatever. And then Tammy, bless her heart, she just like came up to me one day, like I got home from work, and she's like, "Hey, I'm quitting the dope. I'm quitting meth. I'm done. I don't like it." I'm not telling you not to change anything. I'm just telling you, for me, I'm going to stop. I was like, well, first I'm like, yeah, good luck. And then, second off, I'm like, man, it's really expensive when you're supporting two people. So, and she did, she could, I mean, that was amazing. And she quit, and like
normies.
The next weekend like went by, and like, we're doing our thing, and as soon as I knew she was asleep, I took off. And it happened not every weekend, but probably like 2 or 3 times a month. And I would take off like either Friday night or Saturday night, and I wouldn't come home till the next day, like till 5 or 6, like till I was finally hungry again. And I don't know, that went on for, I can't even think of the time frame. I don't know if it was like a month or 2 months.
You're talking about the Olive Park Apartments, man. That shit was long. That was a blur, and that was horrible times.
Yeah, you didn't realize how horrible they were until you look back on it.
Oh my God.
But one day I get home, and she's like, "Hey, she's like, hey, I want to talk to you." I was like, well, let's go out in the front of the apartment. I was going to have a cigarette. She's like, okay. So I'm smoking a cigarette, and she sat down, and she's like, hey, I didn't want it to come to this, but I'm just letting you know right now. I have nothing against you. I wish you all the best. I want to be with you. But I'm just letting you know that if you keep doing the drugs, I didn't think it was going to come to this, but I think I'm going to move back in with my parents. And I was like, oh, like, I didn't think it was like that bad. I mean, I'm just gone for 36 hours at a time, and there's no such thing as a cell phone at the time. And we couldn't afford a pager, much less, hardly paying the rent, much less a pager. But
who's paging me right now?
But that's when it like sunk in, and I was like, okay, hold on, just give me a minute, and I did. I quit the first month. I went cold turkey. I did pretty good, and then I got drunk with some buddies, and then once in a while I would slip, and it took like a good 6 months till I finally realized, hey, those buddies that you like to drink with and you should do drugs with
are still drinking and doing drugs.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And when I cut, when those people just kind of became like friends, like that you knew and just didn't see, like back then you couldn't text. So that kind of made it easier. Yeah. Technology kind of made it easier to distance yourself.
If I didn't go to the bar and hang out at the dope houses, I wasn't running into certain people.
Even if like the guy that you thought was the best friend that you ever had. But when I finally distanced myself from my friends that were still using and drinking and whatever, then it like really finally started taking hold, and like our marriage like did really well, and like I would have a failed weekend or whatever, and it actually took me a long time until like.
Is that when you got clean? Is that how the process started when you got out of that whole scene?
Because I did not want to, because me and Tammy were not just husband and wife on paper. She's the best friend that I had at the time.
Yeah, I remember.
I mean, like she like knew like deep down personal like family stuff, and like she was like my best friend. Like somebody, my buddy, you remember Brian Williams? Mm-hmm. His saying was, if Mike comes and parties or Tammy comes and parties, you're going to have a good time, because once in a while we made the right choice and somebody would drive. Right. He's like, but they said, if Mike comes and parties or Tammy comes and parties, you're going to have a good time. But when they're both partying, you're in for a wild ride. I mean, that's, and like, you never heard of me unless you heard like Mike and Tammy. Mm-hmm. So when that was about to break up because of my drug use, I mean, it really like kind of made me like look at myself and go like, dude, you are garbage. You are like not worth this marriage, or, going through life with a partner or whatever. You're too selfish. And there were slips, but it did sink in, and yeah, that was kind of that's what turned me turned me away from drugs. I mean, it wasn't like instantly or right away, but that was my program, was her, laying it on the line for me. I mean, things didn't pan out. I was still like quite selfish with my time and whatever. And obviously, drugs isn't the only way that you can fail a marriage. Right. But, and actually, when we split up, that's when I actually realized that year after is when I realized I suck as a single person. I am not good at this. I do not like doing this. I don't like going to bed by myself when I've had a rough day. And I did get married again, like shortly after me and Tammy got divorced. And that was like kind of rushed. It is one of the reasons why I met my current wife, and she's amazing. But before, like, we didn't get married like right away in the first year or anything. But after our relationship survived its bumps and bruises, that's when I was like, I want to be married. I want to be a husband. I want to be a husband to her. I want to be the husband that she deserves. And dude, I'm still working on that. But I'm telling you, like, another defining moment is when me and Barb got married. It just set in my head, I want to be the husband that she deserves. And which also came as I want to be, the stepdad to her son. Yeah. Which I love that kid, man. That guy, and what an amazing adult he's becoming.
How's that Wheel of Fortune doing over there? Where'd we leave off, man?
Yeah, I think it's. Do you want to take? I'm going to relinquish my shot to Mike, and I'll let you.
Let me look at it, because maybe it'll come to me.
Dude, I'm not getting this thing, but here you go. Spin that thing.
Just got a hop to and spin that thing.
Flexing eye quads.
Flexing my quads.
Oh, what an idiot! As in me. Oh, flexing my quads.
I had to get every single letter before I got that one.
Just gonna read it.
All I had to do is
please.
just read it.
Can you just read it, please?
I'm gonna guess that.
Are you the only guy that's like been in the gym, like actual gym, in like the last 5 years?
Dude,
I don't go to the gym anymore.
Do you see my legs? I haven't been leg day in a long time.
Dude, you can go to the gym every day of your life. It doesn't mean you can have good legs. God has got.
I got good legs. I just haven't used them. I got fat fucking calves. Wow. Like
Brother
softballs.
did too.
I had like 3 softball stuff in a tube sock.
You could ride bicycles for 5 years straight.
I could squat and pick vegetables off the ground really easy.
squat on the riverbank. And
Obviously, a watermelon and a massive pumpkin. Is that not a vegetable?
All your Asian foods, all your Asian vegetables off the ground. Well, that's going to do it for us tonight, folks. Thank you guys for tuning in and hanging out with us again. A little bit, outside the realm of your regular podcast. I got my buddies over from high school talking about some stuff, right? The way God works in our life and the way we've kind of just had to experience life coming at us and kind of how we managed through it. You know what I mean? It wasn't easy. But we each came out the other side a little bit stronger and a little bit more respectful, a little bit more humble, and a little bit better understanding that life is not guaranteed. It is not permanent. And at any point in time, it will again change significantly. Thank you for tuning in. Again, leave me a comment. Help me thank these guys for putting their stuff out there. Again, we're not experts. This wasn't scripted. This was just kind of straight from the heart. So thank you guys for watching. My name is Jason.
I'm Toby.
I'm Mike.
Thank you guys. Peace out, everybody.
Hey, one thing that I was thinking about, like with our conversation, we were talking about like, moms and this and that. Like when I'm texting, my buddies or I see my buddies, I always try to end with an I love you. Not I love you.
No diddy.
But just love you, love you,
for sure.
Whatever. And it's like, just because, what if something happens to me? Then that's kind of closure for them. And vice versa for me, you know what I mean? And like the people that really matter in your life, like, like my brother, you, Vinny, Red, just anybody that, I got my buddy Derek Waters at my last job. I still text him once in a while, just tell him I love him, and it's just kind of the way that I roll because of those,
Yeah.
I don't mind that. And in fact, I like it a lot. The I love you when it comes to like me and my friends, you know what I mean? Cause it's never said in passing, at my age, our stage, if 2 grown ass men are going to drop the L word, it's not going to be just, like, okay, love you too. It's not like, it's just not how that works. You know what I mean? Not that it's not tough or anything to do with that, but it's meaning, I guess maybe generally for guys or maybe just the people I hang around with, we just don't say it unless we mean it.
Yeah.
It's not just something like, catch you later. I'll say catch you later. Check you later all the time, right? Am I really going to check you later? There's a good chance I'm not going to check you later. In fact,
no check
that I will not check on you later. I will. There's no guarantee of that, right? But my buddy Chris, Cindy's husband, shout out to Big Chris. We say, we don't say it all the time, but it's one of those things. You know what I mean? It's like I do, and it's received well. And we don't fuck around with it. It's not, we don't make a game out of it. You know what I mean? But it's real, and especially at this point in time, I appreciate that much, much more. Because things are less permanent. You know what I mean? Right. Our lives will not last forever. We're losing the adults of our childhood right now.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and like when you say it, I mean, like I say it all the time now. To where it's like normal. But when you first say it to somebody, you'll be surprised at some people aren't going to be receptive. Sometimes like one time, one of our buddies, me, you, and one of our buddies went out. And I was like, hey, love you, buddy. When I was giving him a hug goodbye, he's like, yeah, right.
Tense up.
And then
what did you say?
I said, I love you to you,
yeah.
and you're all, love you, buddy.
Love you back.
And we took off. Yeah. And I was like, I forgot I never said that to him before.
Your brother used to be kind of funny about that. when we were younger. Like anything that was affectionate, he didn't like. So we kind of had to tease him about that. Love you, Vince. Love you, buddy. I'm just, shut the fuck up.
He is.
Or he's good for a handshake. Go this, you try to give him a hug. He'd be like, I don't even know what do you need to hug me for? Why do you need to hug me for?
I used to work at a bicycle shop.
I love your brother. Love you, Vince.
I love you too, brother. He is completely changed, by the way. I look forward to the next time you talk to him.
That's good.
I haven't seen that guy forever. So I used to work at a bicycle shop, and I had this coworker, Eddie, who I'm still super good friends with. He is one of the most ADHD people I've ever met in my life, but he uses it to great effect. He does great things with it. Anyway, working at the shop, I was always in the back monkeying around on bikes, and he was up on the sales floor. So he was always on the phone talking to people. And Ed was the kind of guy he was, and you'll understand why I'm saying this. He would talk to sales reps from other side of the country, work big bike manufacturing companies, but he talked to people at the Gallo company. But every once in a while, just for funsies, he'd be on the phone talking with a customer, and right before he hung up, okay, I love you, bye. And he'd hang up. I just wish so much we could see the other side of that phone.
Okay, I love you, bye. Fucking guy. This fucking guy.
Oh, man. Ed was so funny. He's great. I love Ed. But
okay, I love you, bye.
Yeah.
I think I've accidentally said it to a sales rep or something on the phone before, just like maybe their voice sounded like my wife's or something. It just kind of like.
You just end the conversation and have it. Okay, I love. I don't know you. I in fact do not know you.
Nachos. I love nachos. Don't you love nachos?
Nacho husband. Peace.